What is going on, Movie Meals? Movie Meals, we're here, baby. We're here. We're finally here for our top 10 movies of 2023. 2023 has been a stacked year when I went through. I have added a couple movies since I counted, but I've got myself up to, I think, 74 new movies this year, which I think might be the most ever.
You crushed it this year.
What do you mean?
You crushed it. That's a lot. I remember last year we were talking about how
Usually
we
I
didn't
average
feel
the
like there was
60s.
much good stuff coming out.
Yeah, I usually average about 60 movies, most of them in the theater. Almost
That's
all of
about where
these
I'm
were
at
in the
too.
theater, but
Mhm.
I ended up having a few more. Like there's some wacko ones that I never even like. I watched the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers once and always on Netflix. That counts. It's part of the year, so
Oh,
I
there's a new
tossed that
one?
in here. Yeah. Oh yeah, baby.
Oh, might be
Um,
on the list. Who knows?
but I think I'm around 74. I actually think I've still missed a movie or two. I don't think I missed anything that deserves the top dogs here for best of the year. But
And there's still plenty more movies that just, haven't been distributed out to
yeah, we
theaters
haven't gotten
yet.
a chance to
And,
see even in the
you
big
know,
city. I moved across the country just to get a chance to see these movies, and I still missed them.
still
I had a couple
still taking them
opportunities
time.
earlier in the year at the film festival, but I wasn't able to make those work. But movies like Origin, I still want to see from Ava DuVernay.
Mm-hmm.
American Fiction, I've really wanted to see. I really want to see The Zone of Interest. The movie, whatever you were talking about, that's on Apple and YouTube. I haven't gotten a chance to sit down and watch, but meant to last night. Never really got a chance. Was busy with my pet all day. He was at the vet.
Poor
He's
guy.
doing great. No, he's doing good. He's just
Good,
diabetic.
good,
We
good,
had to get
good.
him on diabetes. Got to get him some insulin. It's expensive.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you, Mill patrons, Kimberly, Karen, guys. Help us get to 2,000. And once we cross that threshold, we're going to give one of these good-looking hoodies, one of these good-looking bad boys away to someone who's been commenting and supporting the channel. We really appreciate it. Go check out the other videos. Started the new year. We got this, our most anticipated of 2024. This will probably drop on New Year's Eve tomorrow. So happy New Year to all of you. And yeah, Kyle, is there any special way you do this every year? How do you make your list? Do you keep track on Letterbox all year, or what do you do?
This year I did. This year I made it into a private list, and as the year went on, I threw in the movies that just impacted me right away, and I just see if from there if they last throughout the year, if I'm still thinking back on them, if I'm still being left with an emotional impact by then, if I'm still thinking of the craftsmanship, then I just weave them in and out, and I just continue on that way and just visualize my list as the year progresses. That's how I did this year because I finally hopped on the bandwagon and used Letterbox.
Yeah, I love Letterbox. I do not use it for this aspect. One of my favorite things of the end of the year is I sit down, I open up two browsers, split my screen in half here, and I go to Movie Insider and I just go through what came out in 2023. Sometimes I miss a thing or two because sometimes they'll put something limited or vice versa. And I just literally type them out in a big old document. I don't even do a spreadsheet. I love doing it in the document, doing a Word doc. I write them out old school. And then I'll translate it to Letterbox later. But I just like doing it. I like seeing it, see how long, and then I compare my lists. I can just pull them up, and then what I do is I write the word contenders, and then I go and I copy and I paste down in the contender section. I had about 25 movies in my contenders right away. Then I review them and go, well, maybe this isn't a contender. I take a bunch of those off. I took a few off, whittle it down to 19, and then I rank the 19. And that's how I get my honorable mentions in my top 10. Some years it's less than 19. This year was kind of a stacked year, but
which was nice.
Oh,
It
this is a
feels
great year for movies.
as much as the top 10 lists are fun. I do feel like this year more than the past few has like made it much difficult to get the top 10 just right. Normally there's years where I make the top 10, I'm like, yeah, I'm good, I'm satisfied. But this year, like, there was just a lot of flip-flopping, a lot of like second guessing on my part, and this year was just exciting. There was just a lot of different different stuff, different genres, like very creative stuff from very creative filmmakers. I felt like we're just a smorgasbord of everything, which feels refreshing. I mean,
It is.
it feels like that hasn't really happened to the level that it was this year as compared to like past few years. And I'm hoping that continues and that becomes like I don't know, a trend. I don't know if that's the right word to describe
Just
it,
a lot
but
of independent and a lot of different. I mean, even Barbie as a IP is still very independent in its feel and its make, and it's nice to see that when all the blockbusters kind of failed, other than maybe one or two of them that I think will make a couple lists or honorable mentions. But
yeah, in a world where all of the blockbusters can feel so samey nowadays, it was nice to have a year where people almost, for the most part, unanimously agree of like, hey, we want different again.
yeah,
Like, so it's funny that you brought up Barbie, because I think that's a very good example of that.
I think in most years, I think we average more than 50%. I would guess 70% of the time over the last decade we've been doing this, we have almost always had a very similar list. Over the last few years, it's diverted a little bit. Most
Last
of the time,
year's was very different.
Last year's was very different.
Yeah.
I think we ended up still with the same number one, though, didn't we? Didn't you have Everything Everywhere All at Once as your number one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too. But there's been a couple years we haven't had the same number one, but sometimes it does. I know the year Dune came out, we had separate number ones because Dune was my first, but it wasn't yours.
Yeah.
Wrongfully so. But all right, let's get into it finally here. Kyle, what are some of your honorable mentions? Then I'll rattle off mine.
Honorable mentions, no particular order. We have Theater Camp, underrated comedy, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Mission Impossible 7, Nimona, Ninja Turtles.
Wait, go back. What was before Ninja Turtles?
Theater Camp.
No, after Theater Camp. Did you say
I said Spider-Man. I said Mission Impossible 7. Nimona?
Is that what you're saying?
Nimona, yeah.
What movie is that? I've never even heard of that.
Anime movie on Netflix. You should. I made a review of it.
No, I watched it. Oh my gosh, that movie was excellent. See, this is what happens on my list. I got to add it to my list. We're up to 75. That movie was very good. In a very good year of animated.
It was. That's so true. Like 3 of these anime movies could have like snuck into my top 10. And then I'll cap it off by mentioning Asteroid City and John Wick 4.
Man, you really loved Asteroid City that much? It's an honorable mention. I watched it for the first time the other day.
Yeah.
I liked it more than I thought I would, but I did not love it. It's not going to be an honorable mention.
Yeah,
I've got 9 honorable mentions here, and I'm going to go no particular order, but I've got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I think is the only real super big blockbuster other than Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, which are my two honorable mentions. I have Air as an honorable mention. I loved that movie. I think it will still contend at the Oscars, and I think rightfully so. Iron Claw, which I just saw as an honorable mention, and I loved it. I loved it. John Wick Chapter 4 is an honorable mention for me, as well as Killers of the Flower Moon, The Boy and the Heron, which was hard to put out. I've got these so close to the top, but dang, it was tough to pick. But Killers of the Flower Moon, Boy and the Heron, and Dream Scenario are capping or my honorable mentions. And I got one more honorable mention, and this was honestly the hardest not to put in. And I had a very hard time with Killers, John Wick, Dream Scenario, and The Boy and the Heron. I mean, I wish I could do a top 15. But because when I come down to it, Mission Impossible, Iron Claw, Air, and Guardians, I'm okay leaving as really honorable mentions. The rest, it hurt my soul. But and I put this at number 11 in my rankings, is the movie When Evil Lurks. Phenomenal. Balls to the wall, crazy horror. I loved it. I was sick one day. I had heard nothing good. I had only heard good things about it, nothing but good things about it. I was sick. I know it was on Shudder, so I paid for a month of Shudder over Halloween, sat in bed and watched it, and I was blown away by how freaking good it was. So I have When Evil Lurks at my number 11. I thought it was freaking fantastic. But let's get into it here. Kyle, what's your number 10?
I should have made my Spider-Man honorable mention last. I should have had that be the kicker for you.
That's wild. That's not in there, man.
I mean, there was 2 of yours in your honorable mentions. I'm like, I almost thought for sure you would have had them in
Killers
your top
and
10.
What else? John Wick or Boy?
Boy. It was Boy. Yeah.
There's a 3-way battle for animated movies, and one Boy and the Heron's the one that didn't make it. I got 2 in my list here.
Okay. Okay. All right, so you ready for my number 10?
Yes.
Just sneaking in at the very last second is the Iron Claw. We'll do a review. Good. We'll do a review of it for another time, but I was very taken away by this tragic story of this
Mm-hmm.
wrestling family that had to deal with the pressures of a overbearing, toxic father figure,
Mm-hmm.
and having to see one of the brothers portrayed by Zac Efron having to have the weight put on his shoulders for the family, despite wanting to do that, but not in the way that the family tragedies ended up winding up happening. So between very good direction and having just a slow build of this dread coming throughout the movie, it just weighs on you as you leave the theater. And I just thought it was a terrific performance by Zac Efron, and it just left me very sad, but at least it left me with a little bit of hopefulness at the end of the movie. Like that ending scene just really
Whew.
hits you in the gut in all the
I'll
best
uh
ways.
I'll tell you this just real quick about Iron
Mm,
Claw. About halfway through the movie, I was like, I'm not loving it. I'm liking it. Why am I
I
not
know
loving it? And
that.
then
Yep.
I sat in the theater and then I went, oh, wait a minute. This is all intentional. This is
Mm,
direction. He's making me want to feel this way because I want the characters to be doing one thing and they're not doing it. And I
mm-hmm.
want them to be doing this thing. I want them to lash out. I want them to stand up for themselves, and they're just not doing it yet. And it makes the end of the movie way more impactful. Oh, the movie's brilliant. I've totally, I mean, it was an honorable mention for me. It could have competed in there, but
Yeah.
great movie. I really hope Zach gets a nomination because he's not going to win in a year with Cillian Murphy and all these other heavy contenders. But man, I really
Giamatti,
hope he gets
Cooper.
nominated. Yeah, Bradley
Yeah.
Cooper, Leonardo DiCaprio. But anyway,
Names are a little bigger.
my
Yep.
my name number 10 is Suzume. Came
Mm.
out earlier this year. It is brilliant. I loved The Boy and the Heron. I do think it holds up as one of the best Ghibli movies, but I kept I was watching some other people's top tens of the years, and a couple critics I really like had it in theirs. And I was like, oh, yeah, Suzume. And I started rethinking about it again. I was like, dang, Suzume really was freaking phenomenal. It made me feel very emotional and impactful. So I gave the edge to Suzume here. That's my number 10. If you haven't seen it, you got to go run and check it out because it is a brilliant movie, breathtaking animation. It's going to hit you
Mm-hmm.
right in the feels in all the best ways. So I'm going Suzume. But all right, Kyle, what's your number 9?
My number 9 is Priscilla. I thought that Sofia Coppola's direction was terrific, and it really showed a young woman having to grow into womanhood far too soon and having to deal with the pressures that Elvis Presley as a partner put on her, while at the same time showing what laid beneath the relationship to what she found attractive and what she found interesting about Presley the person. So a very deliberate movie in towing that line between showing both sides of the relationship, both the good and the very bad of it all. But I thought it was just incredible work by Coppola, and I also really loved the lead performance. So by Kaylee Spaney. So it
Her
lands at number 9.
performance is excellent. Her performance
Yeah,
is really good. Probably will
I
get
hope
an
she gets
Oscar
some love
nomination.
this award season, but
It's
that's
a tough year. Tough year for the
I
ladies
know.
in both categories.
Yeah.
My number 9 is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Oh,
I can't believe it's not in your top 10.
I can't
I
believe it's that high or that low.
well, again, in a stacked year, and
I
where I
know.
do think I don't think the second one loses any magic of. I think, and I don't necessarily know if the sequel is better. I think they're both 10 out of 10 bangers who belong super high up in these lists. It's just a
Hmm.
stacked year. I've watched it 3 times this year. I remember I was sitting back and I was like, man, I really did watch Spider Man 3 times. I caught it on a plane. I watched it again. So this movie's brilliant. The animation still. I think in a year where Boy and the Heron comes out, Suzume, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, movies where animated movies are really expanding their range, I think it still holds up so much with how it looks and feels, and the story, it gets bigger and yet smaller in the same best ways, and it's just really, really great. It's a phenomenal movie. I'm shocked it's not in your top. You really just hate anything superhero these days, but I think it belongs in the list here. So I think it's phenomenal. So I put my 2 animated at the back here: Spider-Man, Suzume.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah. Spider-Man, I will say, teeter at that number 10 spot in that three-way tie I think I was mentioning earlier. But
Could
speaking
be
of superhero
recency bias.
movies,
Oh,
recency bias. Yeah,
the
well,
Marvels, huh?
we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, number 8 is the Marvels. No,
Aquaman.
it's Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I thought James Gunn did a terrific job at
He
tying
did.
up his trilogy of Guardians movies, but at the same time, I really loved the raw emotion that doesn't feel typical of most blockbusters that we've seen over the past few years. I really love that it felt more personal to James Gunn compared to some of his most other movies. And I thought, everyone came to play. Everyone brought their A game when it comes to the cast and crew. I thought the costumes and production design was also very good. But Bradley Cooper as Rocket Raccoon, I just thought he does a fantastic job in all three of them when it comes to voice acting. But I thought he
had more to
brought
do
it
in
up
this
another
one,
level.
I think is the biggest thing. He has more to do. He give a great actor the more to work with, he's going to make something better. But yeah, Guardians was excellent.
Yeah.
My number 8 and my number 7, I think, are basically, I can flip-flop them. So you can count 8 as 7. You can count 7 as 8. You can keep them both at 7. To me, I think they're pretty much interchangeable. But I put number 8, Poor Things. I think Poor Things was brilliant. I loved what the message it says. Go check out our review of it. We just had it up the other day. Actually, I don't think it's up quite yet. But it will be up by the time this video's up and you're watching. But Poor Things was excellent. Triumphant performance by Emma Stone and Mark Ruffalo and the whole cast. Willem Dafoe is excellent in it as well. So I think Poor Things right there shocked me in some of the best ways this year. Brilliant. I got Poor Things.
Alex, you ready to be blown away? Or
number 8? Are you doing 8 or 7?
7. I'm doing 7 now.
Is it Poor Things?
No.
Oh, what is it?
It's not in a good way, by the way. Blown away, and you're not going to like this one.
Oh.
At number 7, I have Barbie.
Oh, I'm okay with that. I didn't think it was going to be high up at all. To be honest, if it didn't make your list, I would have been... It would have been very Kyle. It would have been very Kyle. That was
very disappointing. That was very anticlimactic. It's actually my number 1.
It's Kyle, you're so on brand, it's not even funny. I didn't think Barbie would be a hard-hitting contender for you. I'm not surprised. I thought I did think it was going to make your top 10. I don't think I would have been shocked if you had said it in your not honorable mentions. Mm-hmm. It could have been anywhere 1 through 10, and I think it would have been very par for the course. So
bummer, I wanted to shock you. No, but in all genuality, it landing here because the movie, as we were mentioning earlier, was just a breath of fresh air in terms of of the scale of a blockbuster, in that it had its own independent voice, despite it being coming from an IP in Greta Gerwig, when it comes to the independent voice side of it. And it just, with a breath of fresh air, it was fun, it was humorous, it had a lot of charm and wit to it. And I think you could just tell that there was so much love being put into this movie, not just from her direction, but also from the cast, with great performances by Margot Robbie and as well as Ryan Gosling, who I love that he does goofy comedic characters such as this in The Nice Guys, which is your reminder to check out The Nice Guys if you haven't seen that.
So good.
But
Best Shane Black movie.
There's just a lot of great craft and care that put into Barbie that just made for a great summer, but it made for a great memorable time watching the theaters. So I have to put it there.
All right. What am I on? Number 7. So my number 7 again and number 8, they can be intertwined here, but I have Saltburn. And I know that's nowhere near for Kyle, but Saltburn is fantastic. And I don't understand why Kyle is having such a big reaction. It's not nearly as bad as he's reacting. Saltburn's incredible. I've seen it on other people's top 10s of the year.
That's crazy to me. Even if you like it, I don't know how it's a top 10.
Stop being mean. Can you let me breathe? Jeez. I don't even get to talk about how much I love the movie. This is my list. Get out of here. Get out of here. It's not a movie.
I get to have my emotions.
You don't get to be rude. Saltburn's fantastic. I thought it was weird in the best ways. I think it shocks you in the best ways. I was blown away. I do think the environment I was in, seeing at the film festival, really helped. I was with a lot of deep film buffs who were all just kind of gasping and awing at the same time, which I thought was really great. And it was a good theater experience is what I'm trying to say there. And I loved Saltburn. I think about it constantly. Every time I think about movies, I go back and I think about Saltburn. To be honest, I was shocked it was this low. It's fantastic. I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. I think it is some of the best of Emerald Fennell. I can interchange them. I think Poor Things and Saltburn shock you in very similar ways, where Poor Things has humor to offset the dark, and Saltburn uses very sparingly humor, but not in the same way. So it's it's much more dark in tone, I think, overall. So I
Yeah.
appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. So it's my number 7.
All right. Here we go off to number 6. Number 6 for me is Anatomy of a Fall. A
I haven't gotten a
movie.
chance to see it. I want to. It's on my list.
The movie's terrific. At first, I was watching it, and it was kind of like what you were mentioning about Iron Claw, in that I like it, but I'm not sure if I love it. But as time goes on, and you just see the story unfold onto itself, you can't help but be latched in and just be sad and heartbroken at the same time. Like, it does have such a way with bringing out your emotions and your frustrations when it comes to seeing this trial that gets put on display about this couple, and it especially is heartbreaking when the child played by Milo Mikado Graner, who does a terrific performance, by the way, is in the middle of it all and is kind of experiencing like how troubling that relationship was when he didn't realize it. So I just think it's a very good procedural drama, but at the same time, it also does a great job at showcasing how the tragedies of a problematic relationship and how you come back and revisit them can be almost as, if not more, heartbreaking and hurtful to revisit than it was experiencing them for the first time. And it just left me in such a depressing state, but the movie does a very good job at just bringing out all sorts of emotions within you. So number 6 for me is Anatomy of a Fall.
All right. My number 6, we'll see if Kyle scoffs this time, but I doubt it. My number 6 is The Holdovers. I loved The Holdovers. It really was a competitor for top 5. I honestly should have it in there, but I just love all the other movies so much.
Yeah.
The Holdovers literally is what a warm hug feels like. It's brilliant. It's phenomenal. It's a Christmas movie in the best ways, where it makes you feel all the emotions. You do feel down in the dumpers at one point, but then you come back feeling even better, which I think is some of the best thing Christmas movies do, even if it was unintentional as a Christmas movie for this. But I can see myself watching this every year around the holiday season because I just loved how it made me feel. The performances are immaculate. They're fantastic, especially by the young boy who it was his first movie ever. So I'm just blown away by how much I love The Holdovers. That's my number 6. Top 5 time, baby.
Yeah,
top
I thought
5.
top 5 holdovers. I like the pick for holdovers. Obviously, thought it would be a top 5 for you, but hey, number 6 is close. That's
I will be honest. I switched it out while you were talking about your number 6. I switched it from number 5 to number 6 because I kept thinking about how much I love my number 5 more, and what I love about it. But we'll get there. Kyle, the top 5. Right. What's your number 5?
Number 5 for me is Killers of the Flower Moon. I thought Scorsese just did a great job at telling the story about this tribe and its unfortunate past, and at the same time, just great performances that just, left me kind of shaken at the end of the day. And then that ending as well also kind of leaves you shaken as well. So another movie that, I don't walk out happy exactly, but it just also left me thinking about more and more, and just with a whole slew of emotions that I put at number 5 for that.
Nice. My number 5 is Talk to Me. Talk to Me is brilliant in every level. It changes the horror genre. It's fantastic. The more I think about it, I love it. That, and with When Evil Lurks, it's some of the best horror I've seen in years. And as a guy who's really come to love horror over the last 5 years, I was blown away by this movie. I was blown away by it. And I think about it constantly. And I moved it up just a few minutes ago, live on air, to number 5. And I was going to have it at 6, but I think it deserves a top 5 spot. It literally changes some of the game, I think, of how you make horror. I think it's left on such a brilliant and beautiful tone. I freaking loved this movie. I thought it was phenomenal. And I think I don't know. I've seen it on some lists of critics, but I don't know how it's not on everybody's list. I think it's being forgotten about, and it shouldn't be.
Underrated gem.
It's brilliant. I don't even know how it can be considered underrated. To me, it's incredible, and it's a horror mainstay. Go ahead,
That's
Kyle. What's your number 4?
Number 4 is The Holdovers. I had a big goofy smile on my face at the end of the day, but I still was just carried away by Alexander Payne's direction. I thought he just did a great job at, keeping you wrapped up in a warm blanket, but having some great homages to that feeling of like old classic cinema. But on top of that, having performances that tell an individual story and yet weaves them together within our three main leads. And I thought together, like they just carried this movie and they made me uh, just care about them so much more than I was ever anticipating. And at the end of the day, I know I've had a lot of movies where like it left me feeling sad, but this is one of those that just made me goofily happy. So I just have a lot of love for that, and that's why I have it at number 4.
I love it. Love the holdovers. It's literally a warm hug. My numbers 1 through 4. If you get upset and you're like, how is that a 4? That should be number 1. How's that a 3? That should be a number 1. I agree with you. I'll happily move them. I think these are all brilliant, brilliant movies. My number 4 I watched again last night because I wanted some laughs, and that is Barbie. And Barbie is the funniest movie of the year. There's a few comedies I haven't seen. It's the funniest movie of the year. It's the best comedy. It is. Get out of the way. It is. It is brilliant. It is one of the best scripts of the year. I myself think it's probably, there's movies I haven't seen yet, but I would have it as the winner right now for best original screenplay. I think it is phenomenal. I was blown away by how much I was still laughing watching it last night, how heartfelt it gets. It handles everything in all of the best ways possible. It is a phenomenal, phenomenal movie. It's weird to think that Barbie is this good. It's that good for a reason. It belongs at this spot. I adore this movie. I love this movie. I'm going to rewatch it probably once a freaking year. It's so funny. It's so heartfelt. Performances are fantastic. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's rightfully deserving to be the highest grossing movie of the year. Yep.
A lot of people liked it.
Honestly, I was debating putting it at number 1 for the last 3 months. I've been like, is Barbie my number 1? I think Barbie's my number 1. And I kept coming back. And then I eventually put it at 4, but I would gladly move it to number 1 because I think it's that good. Yeah. All right, Kyle, top 3 time, baby. What is number your number 3?
Number 3 for me is Poor Things. I was blown away by how much I enjoyed this movie. I thought it was strange in that gothic, almost psychedelic fairy tale type of aesthetic that I was having, from his costume design to his production designs. The almost watercolor-like painted mural backgrounds I thought were incredible. Just very memorable stuff when it comes to the aesthetics of the whole movie. But at the core of it is an amazing performance by Emma Stone that I think is going to be one of the greats, one of the best in regards to her career. And I just thought that between that and the direction, it was just a great, interesting showcase of a woman learning about womanhood, but also adulthood, and the complexities and the joy, but also the horrors that can go into living life and experiencing life and being an adult. And I just thought that was very creative, but very well done and very well executed. And I think that it's just going to be a very memorable movie for me for a long time. So I put it that high up at number 3 for all those reasons.
Yeah, it made Kyle start scoring movies again on Letterbox. Yeah, Poor Things is great. My number 3 is Oppenheimer. I think Oppenheimer rightfully could have been number 1 or 2. I think Oppenheimer's brilliant. I saw it 3 times this year, all in the theater. I just got it on DVD. I want to watch it again. It was really hard to get. It's the highest selling DVD since like the 80s or something like that. Like it's like really difficult to get. But it's a brilliant, it's Nolan at his best. It is literally one of the best Nolan movies, up there with, I think, The Dark Knight, and Inception and some of his other ones. It's brilliant. It's Cillian Murphy's performance of a lifetime. I do think he is probably going to win the Oscar, and I think it's very, very deserving. He is so freaking good in Oppenheimer. This movie just blows me away. It really could have been number 1, maybe should have been number 1, but I think Oppenheimer is great. We got 2 picks left. Kyle and I have never not had a year where we've had the same movie in the same spot. And I am very curious if it's going to happen, because I'm not sure it is. We'll find out. I think I know the way your list is ending here. So let's I
wouldn't
Kyle,
be surprised.
what's your number 2?
Yeah. My number 2, and granted, it was hard between these two, that's for sure. But as of now, I'm putting number 2 to be Past Lives. What Past Lives does through its direction and through its performances is some really great stuff in telling a love story, but spinning it in like the what ifs of a love story if things had gone just a little bit differently. And while I think it sounds like simple enough, it does a really great job through 3 great nuanced performances of like the challenges and like the not regrets, but just the wondering and the curiosity of like what would happen if something just worked out a little bit differently. And between that, as well as its discussions when it comes to immigration, I just thought that the movie was very special in its very nuanced approach to this story. And I just keep thinking back on how much it affected me in that it's such a common idea, it's such a common wonder of like, what if something different happened like that, and what if this and what if that. And so I think for that reason, it's just a very masterful job when it comes to direction, as well as with a incredible score that I think needs to be appreciated more than it seeming like it is right now. And I just thought it was a beautiful movie. I have to put in number 2.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow.
Yeah.
My number 2 is Godzilla -1.
Whew. There it is.
And
I knew you loved it. I was curious where it was going.
And if it's not Kyle's number 1, then it's an absolute travesty that he never mentioned it. I'm just going to say that. It's ridiculous. Yeah. And if it is his number 1, then it's ridiculous that he didn't mention Oppenheimer. So
Alex is not is going to be sweating.
It's ridiculous. Godzilla, my number 1 and number 2 are the 2 movies I've thought about more than any movie this year. And I've thought about a lot of movies. I've said it a couple times already. Godzilla -1 is incredible. It's a war movie. It's fantastic. I've seen it on so many people's top 3 of the year. I think it's rightfully deserving. I've literally not stopped thinking about it since I've seen it. It's maybe the best Godzilla movie. It's arguably the best movie of the year. It makes you feel things. It makes you cheer. It makes you cry. It makes you root for humans in a movie where I want to go in and watch Godzilla kill the humans. And I was rooting for the humans. That's very rare for me. I adored Godzilla -1. It is my number 2 of the year. And now it's time for the drum roll. We always say these at the same time. So, Kyle, on the count of 3, we'll say our top 3 of the year. 3, 2, 1. Cocaine Bear. My number 1 is Past Lives.
Yeah.
And I had a feeling. I can't believe Godzilla -1 wasn't even an honorable mention for you. What the heck is wrong with you?
Very good movie.
What's wrong with you?
Crowd of year.
Shut up. You sit here and you scoffed at me in Saltburn, and you don't even give Godzilla -1 some love. Like, at least I'm giving movies love. You're not even giving Godzilla love, man. What is wrong with you?
Go to the review. Check out our other videos. Go to our review. There's some.
What is wrong with it? Roast him in the comments, please. That's how you get a hoodie. All right, Kyle, you got Oppie at number 1. This is the first time. This is history. This is the first time ever we haven't had a movie land in the same spot, and it's like maybe the second or third time ever we've had different number 1s, and I think this is probably the most different top 5 we've ever had. Kyle's got movies in my top 10 that I don't even know if he saw. So
no, these lists were very different. This is unusual for us.
I love it.
This is awesome, though. Yeah. Anyway, do you want me to go first?
Stinks. Yeah, go ahead. Oppenheimer, go ahead.
Oppenheimer. Yeah, look, I'm a Nolan guy. I love my Nolan. But I really don't think when it comes to it being at number 1, there is that bias to it. I just think when it comes to what he has done with this story, it is a masterclass in like movie making when it comes to everything from its direction, from the writing of its script, the editing process, especially the editing process, its score, just the way that it's able to build in such a dramatic fashion for a story that is almost about humans in a way, about the feeling of humanity in a sense. And I think that anchored down by a performance by Cillian Murphy, it's incredible work by both him and Nolan that they were able to make this movie succeed as much as it does and just have you hold your attention through like its 3-hour runtime. And of course, I could go on about the stacked cast and how amazing everyone is, no matter if it's like a bigger role or a smaller role, but obviously that list is just too long. But at the end of the day, I think this is going to be considered one of Nolan's best work, if not his best work, because everything about this movie, I'm talking about for the rest of time or whatever.
Oh yeah, I think.
But but as of now, it's the movie that I keep thinking about, and I just keep blown away by just all the big things that he does in this movie, all the way down to like the little nuances throughout the story. So I put that at number one for all those reasons. Just a fantastic piece of work, fantastic piece of art by Nolan in telling this story, and props to him. This was an incredible movie.
Yeah, Oppenheimer's fantastic. It warrants a number one spot. I don't think it's biased. It's that good. My number one is Past Lives, but shout out to Cocaine Bear. Fun movie. Past Lives, I was late to the game on. I watched it about a month and a half ago, and those are the best performances of the year by far. If you think Emma Stone is great, you need to see Past Lives. If you think Cillian Murphy's great, go see Past Lives. And they're phenomenal, and they are worthy of an Oscar. Past Lives shook me to my core how good those performances were. Shook me to my core. I thought the direction, everything about it was brilliant, breathtaking, heartbreaking. It made you feel so many emotions. I've thought about that movie constantly. I mean, really my top 4 movies, I've constantly thought about Barbie, Oppenheimer, Godzilla, and Past Lives, more than anything else. And it has been an incredibly stacked year. This is going to go down as one of the best years for movies in history, I think. I don't think it's going to end up beating the best year, which is 1994. But I do think that it is going to compete for a long, long time. There are so many good movies. I mean, I had Killers of the Flower Moon in my ranking at 12, and I think rightfully so. I could have put it at 6, 7, 5, and been happy with it. But this has been an incredible year for a lot of movies. Past Lives is my number one. I think it's brilliant. It's going to make for a very fun Oscars. Maybe it's so diverse, Kyle will watch the Oscars for the first time in 10 years. But he'll be mad when Saltburn wins one thing. It'll be like, Saltburn wins an honorary Oscar just because Alex likes it, and Kyle will he'll go full Gungan. This year was fantastic. And I want to bring this up very briefly. I wanted to do it at the end. There has been a lot of discourse I've seen online a little bit because a creator I really like, who's not a critic, not a pundit, but a content creator for movies who I really like, was talking about how he doesn't think that the best movie and your favorite movie should be different. And I've seen a lot of people be like, no, they should be different. He's like, no, that doesn't make any sense because it's all subjective anyway. And I do think there is some, look, when you look at our top 10 lists, they're going to be different based off of favoritism. Some of it is just favoritism. I put a Talk to Me up high because I think Talk to Me does, throughout the making of a movie, I think it does things new in a new, different way that is going to help change the horror genre. I think When Evil Lurks is one of those as well. But a movie like Godzilla, I think, is also changing the genre in good ways, but is also just incredible. Like, it's fun. I have a lot of energy with it. Like, I felt very, you say Mission Impossible, you put John Wick in there for really great action movies. And it's like, are those at the end of the day better movies? Are they made better? When you look at the technical aspect of how you make a movie, are they made better than is Mission Impossible better than a Killers of the Flower Moon? Killers of the Flower Moon is probably more technically made better, but you have to equate that one-on-one on your own. So I think those can be separate. I think this is our favorite movies. These are our top movies of the year. Favorite and best are going to be factors in that list. But you can say, look, I freaking loved a Fast and the Furious movie. I didn't love Fast X this year, but you can say, I loved a Fast and Furious movie. I would put it in my top movies of the year. I loved it. I had so much fun. It was awesome. But the best movie was actually Killers of the Flower Moon because of everything it does technically and the way it's shot and the cinematography and all that. But I had more fun in one. I think that is a completely valid argument. So I want to know what you guys have as your best movies of the year. What did you think of our list? Comment those. Stay part of this conversation. These videos are going to be posted all over the board. But yeah, so let's wrap this up. Any final thoughts you got, Kyle?
Saltburn? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
No, these I like their list is so different because at the end of the day, it is nice to be able to have access to such a wide variety of stories and tastes. Like, that's like the best part about these lists is that you could maybe have not caught a movie or decide not to see a movie. And then when you hear so many good things about a movie at the end of the year, it will make you want to check them out. And especially in 2023, where we've been saying over and over, there's a lot of great stuff out there. So give lots of these a chance. Like Alex mentioned, one of his horror movies that he really loved. I haven't been able to check it out yet. Now I definitely will.
Which one?
So I can't remember. It was at your honorable mentions.
Oh, When Evil Lurks?
Yes.
Foreign film. It's balls crazy.
Nice. On Shudder, you said?
It's wild, man. Yeah, it is on Shudder. That's where I watched it. It was like $6 for the month. I just watched the movie. And I watched one other movie on Shudder. Because their horror movie is like deep cut horror. And I wanted basic. I wanted to hit some of the basic movies I hadn't seen. But oh man, it is wild. It is wild in what it does.
Love it.
It is crazy. But yeah, guys, what do you think? Comment below, let us know. Remember to like, subscribe, share. Check out our most anticipated 2024 and all the other great videos we got up. And roast us in the comments, please. And as always, thanks for watching, Mom. Get one of these hoodies. Thanks to Moon Meal patrons. Yeah, again, one more time, final time. Thanks for watching, Mom.
See you guys.